My beloved child. Stop scrolling for a moment, because what you are about to hear may feel as though it was placed before you at exactly the right time. Do not rush past these words. Do not let distractions steal this moment from you. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. There is a hidden chapter in this story that changes everything you thought you understood. At first it may seem simple, but nothing about this story is ordinary. Every moment leads to a revelation, and every revelation leads to another door that has remained closed until now. There is a man whose heart carries your name in a way that even he struggles to explain. Long before he admitted it to himself, your presence began changing the quiet places inside him. He tried to convince himself that these feelings would disappear. He buried them beneath responsibilities, daily routines, and unanswered questions. Yet every time he believed he had moved on, something reminded him of you again. A familiar song. A passing memory. A dream that felt strangely real. A simple moment that refused to leave his mind. But there is something standing between his heart and the future he secretly imagines. This is where many people stop listening. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. There is another woman in his life. Before your heart races ahead with fear, listen carefully. The truth is far deeper than appearances. Many people would judge this story after hearing only one sentence, but hidden stories are never understood by quick conclusions. The greatest misunderstandings often begin when people believe they already know the ending. The other woman is not simply another chapter. She represents unfinished responsibilities, promises made during a different season of life, and decisions that became more complicated than anyone expected. She exists in his present, but she does not hold the future his heart quietly searches for. That difference changes everything. Every night, while the world grows silent, he finds himself wondering why thoughts of you continue appearing when he least expects them. He tells himself he should focus somewhere else. He reminds himself that life should be easier than this. Yet every attempt to silence those feelings only makes them stronger. Have you ever noticed how some connections refuse to disappear no matter how much time passes? There are moments when he catches himself smiling for no obvious reason. Then he realizes that a memory of you quietly entered his thoughts. He quickly hides that smile because he cannot explain it to anyone around him. People would not understand why someone who appears to have everything still feels as though something important is missing. That missing piece is not success. It is not comfort. It is not recognition. It is understanding. He longs for someone who truly sees the person behind the mask he wears every day. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The surprising part of this story is that he has tried more than once to convince himself these feelings should end. He believed distance would solve everything. He believed silence would erase every emotion. Instead, silence became louder. Distance made every memory stronger. The harder he tried to forget, the more clearly your presence appeared inside his thoughts. Some mornings begin with determination. By evening, he is wondering about you again. Some nights begin with confidence. Before sunrise, he questions everything he believed. That inner conflict has continued far longer than anyone realizes. No one around him sees it. No one hears the conversations taking place inside his heart. People only notice the version of him that smiles politely, completes responsibilities, and pretends everything is perfectly fine. But hidden beneath that calm surface is a question he cannot answer. Why does your memory still remain? Why does your name continue echoing through moments that have nothing to do with you? Why does every attempt to move forward somehow lead him back to the same emotional crossroads? There is another detail almost nobody knows. He has become afraid of making the wrong decision. Not because he lacks courage. Not because he lacks love. But because he understands that one decision can change many lives forever. Sometimes people mistake hesitation for the absence of love. That is not always true. Sometimes hesitation comes from carrying responsibilities that feel impossible to untangle. Sometimes people remain silent because they fear hurting someone. Sometimes they delay important conversations because they hope circumstances will somehow solve themselves. But time rarely solves what honesty was meant to face. That realization has slowly been growing inside him. Every passing week makes it louder. Every unexpected reminder makes it stronger. Every quiet moment makes it impossible to ignore. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The story becomes even more surprising. There have been moments when he almost reached out. His hands paused. His thoughts raced. His heart whispered one direction while fear pulled him another. Then the opportunity disappeared. Afterward he wondered what might have happened if he had spoken. Those unanswered moments continue following him. Sometimes he imagines a future where everything becomes clear. A future where misunderstandings disappear. A future where everyone finally speaks honestly instead of hiding behind silence. He wonders whether that day is closer than it seems. The remarkable truth is that every hidden story eventually reaches a turning point. Every unanswered question eventually demands an answer. Every emotional journey reaches a moment where remaining silent becomes more difficult than speaking honestly. He feels that moment approaching. He cannot explain why. He simply senses that life cannot continue exactly as it has. Change is quietly approaching. Not with loud announcements. Not with dramatic warnings. But one small moment capable of changing everything. A conversation. A realization. An unexpected meeting. A simple decision. History has shown that life often changes through ordinary moments rather than extraordinary events. That is why today's quiet chapter should never be underestimated. It may appear calm. Yet beneath that calm, powerful emotions continue moving like unseen currents beneath still water. The other woman notices something has changed. She cannot explain it completely. She only senses that his attention is no longer where it used to be. His conversations have become quieter. His thoughts seem farther away. His eyes often reveal questions he never speaks aloud. People around him assume he is simply tired. But exhaustion is only part of the story. The greater weight comes from carrying emotions that have remained unspoken for far too long. He keeps asking himself whether honesty will bring peace or create greater confusion. That question follows him everywhere. It follows him into busy mornings. It follows him through ordinary afternoons. It follows him into sleepless nights. It even appears in dreams that leave him wondering after he wakes. And each dream somehow ends the same way. Standing before a path that requires courage. Standing before a choice that cannot be postponed forever. Standing before a future that depends upon one honest step. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Because what happens next is not what anyone expects. The chapter that has remained hidden for so long is beginning to open. A truth long protected by silence is preparing to reveal itself. A heart that has remained divided is approaching a decision that could change every tomorrow. But that moment has not fully arrived yet. When it does, nothing will remain exactly as it was before. The next chapter carries the answer he has been searching for, the unexpected reason this complicated situation exists, and the quiet event that begins changing everything from the inside out. A quiet shift has already begun, even though almost no one can see it. If you have stayed this far, don't skip now. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The hidden truth behind this story is about to move from silence into the light, and what happens next will completely change the meaning of everything you have heard so far. For a long time, this man believed that keeping everyone happy was the right thing to do. He carried responsibilities that were never easy, smiled when people expected him to smile, and kept his deepest emotions locked away where no one could reach them. The world praised his strength, but no one noticed the weight he carried every single day. He looked calm on the outside while his heart quietly searched for an answer it could no longer ignore. Then something unexpected happened. One ordinary day became unforgettable. It was not a dramatic event. It was not a loud announcement. It was a simple reminder of you. Someone mentioned a familiar place. A memory suddenly returned. A song he had not heard for years began playing without warning. In that very moment, every wall he had carefully built around his heart began to crack. He realized that time had changed many things, but it had not changed the feelings he had tried so hard to bury. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. That realization frightened him more than he wanted to admit. He asked himself difficult questions. Why had these emotions survived every season? Why had they remained alive despite distance, silence, and countless attempts to move on? Why did every road somehow lead back to the same person? The answers did not arrive immediately. Instead, they appeared one small piece at a time. He began noticing that whenever he imagined his future, one face quietly appeared in the picture. Whenever he imagined peace, your presence somehow became part of that vision. Whenever he imagined happiness, his heart refused to erase the connection that had remained hidden for so long. Meanwhile, the other woman also sensed that something had changed. She noticed his silence had become deeper. She noticed that his smiles no longer reached his eyes. She noticed he often seemed physically present but emotionally somewhere else. She could not explain it, but she understood that his heart was wrestling with something much bigger than ordinary worries. This was no longer about confusion. This was about truth. Truth has a remarkable way of refusing to stay hidden forever. It waits patiently. It grows quietly. Then one day, it becomes impossible to ignore. That day is drawing closer. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Late one evening, while everyone else believed the day had ended, he found himself sitting alone in complete silence. No phone. No conversation. No distractions. Just his thoughts. For the first time in a very long while, he stopped running from his own heart. He admitted something he had never spoken aloud. I still care. Those 3 simple words changed everything. They did not solve every problem. They did not erase every obstacle. But they ended the longest battle he had been fighting, the battle against his own feelings. Sometimes the greatest breakthrough begins with one honest sentence spoken only to yourself. After that night, nothing felt quite the same. He started seeing life differently. He realized that pretending was becoming harder than telling the truth. He realized that delaying important decisions only created deeper uncertainty. He realized that fear had been making choices on his behalf for far too long. That realization became the turning point. Yet another surprise was still waiting. Within days, unexpected signs began appearing around him. Familiar names surfaced in conversations. Old memories returned without warning. Opportunities to reflect appeared one after another, almost as though life itself was encouraging him to stop hiding from what mattered most. Each sign carried the same quiet message. Stop running. Stop pretending. Face what your heart already knows. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. He now stands closer than ever to a decision that once felt impossible. The fear has not completely disappeared, but courage has quietly become stronger than doubt. Every passing day brings him one step nearer to a conversation he knows cannot be delayed forever. The next chapter is where hidden words finally begin to find a voice. The silence that has lasted for so long will no longer be able to protect the truth. A moment is approaching that neither he nor anyone around him expects, and when it arrives, every unanswered question will begin leading toward a completely new direction. The story is no longer standing still. It has begun to move. And what comes next will be the most powerful chapter yet. Everything has been leading to this moment. If you are still here, don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The final chapter is not about drama, it is about truth finally becoming stronger than fear. Every silent battle, every unanswered question, and every hidden emotion has been preparing for what happens now. The man stood at a crossroads he could no longer avoid. For months, perhaps even years, he had convinced himself that waiting was the safest choice. But deep inside, he knew that every day of silence was slowly becoming a decision of its own. His heart had reached a place where pretending was no longer possible. One morning, before the world around him became busy, he looked into the mirror and asked himself a question that changed everything. If I keep hiding the truth, who am I protecting? The answer came quietly. He was protecting fear. Not love. Not peace. Only fear. In that instant, something inside him became different. He realized that real love is never built on endless hesitation. It is built on honesty, respect, courage, and the willingness to do what is right, even when it is difficult. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The other woman had already begun noticing what he could no longer hide. She saw that his heart was somewhere else. She understood that forcing someone to stay where their heart no longer belonged would never create lasting peace. Their conversation was calm, respectful, and filled with honesty. There were no harsh words, no anger, only the difficult acceptance that sometimes people must walk different paths in order to live truthfully. That conversation became the closing of one chapter. Not because anyone had failed, but because every season has an ending. And every ending makes room for a new beginning. For the first time in a very long while, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. Not the hope built on imagination. Not the hope built on fantasy. The hope that comes from finally choosing honesty over fear. Days later, he found himself thinking of you once again, but this time, something was different. The uncertainty that had followed him for so long had become quiet. Instead of asking endless questions, his heart had already made its decision. He no longer wanted to wonder, what if? He wanted to discover, what happens when I finally take one honest step? Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Life has a remarkable way of bringing clarity after long seasons of confusion. The doors that once seemed permanently closed slowly begin to open. The conversations we fear the most often become the very conversations that bring lasting peace. The answers we search for are sometimes waiting on the other side of one courageous decision. The greatest revelation in this story is not that he loved deeply. It is that he finally stopped hiding from that love. He understood that no relationship should be built on uncertainty or unfinished truths. Before moving toward tomorrow, he first chose integrity today. That decision changed him from the inside out. As the sun set on another ordinary evening, he smiled, not because every challenge had disappeared, but because he was no longer running from the truth. For the first time, his future no longer looked like a maze. It looked like a road. A road that required courage. A road that required patience. A road that required honesty. But a road that finally moved forward. If this story has held your attention from the very beginning, remember this: fear can delay the truth, but it cannot silence it forever. Honest choices may take time, yet they have the power to transform lives in ways that silence never can. Don't skip the important moments in your own journey. Stay hopeful. Because sometimes the chapter that feels the most uncertain is quietly preparing the most meaningful beginning. And that is where this story ends, with a heart that finally chose truth over fear, peace over confusion, and hope over hesitation, ready to walk into a new tomorrow with honesty leading every step. The story could have ended with unanswered questions, but this is where everything finds its true meaning. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The final revelation is not about who won or who lost. It is about what happens when a heart finally refuses to live behind fear any longer. After choosing honesty, this man discovered something he had never expected. Peace. Not because every problem disappeared overnight. Not because life suddenly became perfect. But because he was finally living in alignment with the truth he had hidden for so long. He no longer woke up carrying the same heavy burden. The endless, what-if questions slowly faded. Every sunrise reminded him that courage is not the absence of fear, it is taking the next step even when fear is still whispering. There were still challenges ahead. Important conversations still needed to happen. Life still required patience. But his direction had become clear. That clarity changed everything. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. One evening, while walking alone beneath a quiet sky, he remembered the very first moment your story entered his life. It was never about coincidence. It was never about perfect timing. It was about two journeys that continued moving, even when they seemed far apart. He smiled, not because he knew exactly how every chapter would unfold, but because he finally believed that truth has a way of guiding every sincere heart toward the place it truly belongs. For so long, he had been afraid that choosing honesty would make him lose everything. Instead, honesty gave him something far greater. Freedom. Freedom from pretending. Freedom from constant inner conflict. Freedom from carrying emotions that had remained trapped inside for too many seasons. That freedom became the beginning of a completely different life. Many people spend years searching for signs while ignoring the quiet voice already speaking inside them. He finally stopped searching outside himself and listened to the truth that had patiently waited within his own heart all along. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. If this story has touched something deep within you, remember its greatest lesson. Love is never measured by fear. Love is measured by integrity. It is measured by kindness. It is measured by respect. It is measured by the courage to choose what is right, even when that path is difficult. Sometimes the longest journey is not the distance between two people. Sometimes it is the distance between fear and honesty. Once that distance is crossed, everything begins to change. As this chapter closes, imagine the quiet morning that follows the longest night. The darkness does not argue with the sunrise. It simply gives way to the light. That is exactly what happened here. Confusion gave way to clarity. Silence gave way to truth. Fear gave way to courage. And uncertainty gave way to hope. This is why every moment in this story mattered. Every delay, every unanswered question, every quiet struggle was preparing for a single decision that transformed everything. Don't skip the next chapter of your own life. Stay hopeful. Something huge is always waiting for those who choose truth over fear and hope over doubt. The journey ends here, but its message remains. No matter how complicated life becomes, sincere hearts are strengthened by honesty, guided by wisdom, and renewed by hope. Every ending carries the seed of a meaningful beginning, and every honest step has the power to open a future that once seemed impossible. Thank you for walking through this story until the very last word. The final page closes, but the light it leaves behind continues forward.